Shabbat Shalom, it's Rabbi David Barron with my 5-minute Torah talk. Before I begin, I want to invite you, if you're in the LA area here in Southern California, to join us for an intimate Shabbat service in our rotunda here at our temple home, the Saban Theater in Beverly Hills. That's Friday night, August 19th at 8 p.m. And it will be a wonderful service. You'll get to chant all the beautiful melodies of Shabbat and share in a delightful Oneg Shabbat with us after the service, and get to meet one another and our clergy team one-on-one. So please join us Friday night, August 19th. And if you can't attend that service, please make sure you're with us for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the Jewish High Holy Days, beginning September 24th and 25th. And we want to invite you to magnificent and inspirational High Holy Day services. I'll be joining with our cantor, Alicia Pierce, and our new Chazan, Nathan Lamb, our Grammy award-winning composer, music director, Sharon Farber, a 12-voice choir, and magnificent instrumentalists. We hope you'll come and join us for the inspirational speakers who will be joining me for the High Holy Days, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So please renew your membership and make sure you arrange your seating for the High Holy Days. This week's Torah portion, Matot and Masai, continues the ongoing journey of the Israelites as they come closer to entering the Promised Land and the interpersonal relationships and dealings that they had with one another. And it opens with a description about the sacredness and preciousness of a vow, of a promise that you make, especially a promise you make not just to a friend or relative, but a promise you make to the Creator, to God. That is a very sacred vow, and it has to be kept. And yet we know that as human beings, we fall short. We make promises to ourselves. What are those famous New Year's resolutions? To lose weight, to stop smoking, whatever it might be, and we fall short. We sometimes don't live up to that vow or promise. And in the case of promises to the Creator, they're very sacred, and they must be kept. And yet there is a release. Actually, it's called Hatarat Nedarim, a release of a vow, a release from a vow. And the most famous example of that is on Yom Kippur Eve. It's the signature prayer of the High Holy Days, the Kol Nidre, which means all vows. Dear God, all vows or promises we made to you that we couldn't fulfill, please release us from them. And this precedes the prayers of our most sacred day, our holiest day, Yom Kippur. What's interesting is that human beings often fall short in the promises they make to themselves, and they have to create devices to fulfill a promise you make to yourself so that you don't sabotage yourself in keeping something that is so important that you decided to make it a promise to yourself. And you have to create fulfillment devices to make sure you accomplish that. One of my friends who tracks his time on social media and with his device was astonished at the number of hours per day and per week and per year that he spends on his device. Someone said people touch their iPhone a couple thousand times in a day. It's not uncommon that they reach for it or touch it. So how do we break that habit? We create fulfillment devices or techniques that enable us to restrict the amount of use. Of course, the greatest is Shabbat, where ideally we put away our technology for 24 hours. But I'm talking about during the course of a week, a month, a year. How do we control that? So what are some devices or techniques? Designate a period of time in your day where you take your device and you lock it away, and then you take that key and put it in a very remote place. So the temptation to go and get to that device is going to be restricted by the fact that you have to go and find the key, unlock the drawer, and take the device out. So you're helping yourself in the fulfillment of a vow or promise that you make to yourself. The same is true with food and with dieting. Don't keep the kinds of things that will sabotage your diet in your home, in your fridge. Make sure you create a healthy alternative environment for the kinds of things you want to eat. All of these are techniques and devices that help us fulfill promises to ourselves. And the same is true in the promises to our friends and neighbors. Don't make them lightly. Better to not make a vow or promise to someone and instead to be consistent and present with that person to help them get through whatever it is you wanted to commit to them in a vow to accomplish. So all of these help us recognize that it's our interpersonal relationships with one another and our relationship with God, with the Creator, that strengthen us as human beings, that make us live in alignment with our highest and best self. And that's what we aspire to do each and every day of the life we're given. You know, life is so short. A friend told me a cute story about a rabbi who got up to give a sermon at the temple, and he stood before the congregation and he said, you know, I've got some bad news. Every one of us in this congregation, every member of this congregation will meet his or her maker, will die one day. And one day, it might be one day soon. And a lady sitting in the fifth row was kind of smiling and giggling. And he went up to her and he said, ma'am, why is it that after I made that profound statement, you're laughing? She said, well, I'm laughing because I'm not a member of this congregation. The fact of the matter is that all of us have a date with destiny. All of us want to live our life in a way that when we look back on our life, we can say it was a fulfilling life, a life of goodness, a life of love, a life of sharing. And we do that by honoring the promises we make and the vows we make to ourselves and to others. I hope we take that message to heart, and I wish each and every one of you a safe and fun summer and a Shabbat Shalom.